string finally got modded by Steve Helgeson of Moonstone Guitars. The 12-string finally got modded with a new nut, a new bridge, and it sounds real sweet. So I finally took my 12-string in to Steve Helgeson over at Moonstone Guitars, and he put in my Earvana nut that's adjustable for intonation, and a 12-saddle bridge, and he cut in the string slots and everything, spaced out my strings a little bit wider. They were really close together on this neck coming stock from Ibanez. With a lot of real estate here on the outside unused, and my fat fingers were having trouble pushing down the string without hitting the other strings on the sides, so I had him bring them out. And here's Steve explaining exactly what he did to the guitar. Got Steve Helgeson here explaining what he did to my AS7312. We got the Earvana.
The Earvana, this is the model that is the adjustable with unslotted. So first I set it up by sizing the base unit, which the top part screws into the base. I actually ended up angling it back because it was straight up and down. It needs to have breakover. So the base unit is angled back and it's flush to the top of the fretboard. I first had it sitting a little higher, but I realized I had to cut the strings down into the top, so I took it back out and made it flush because I didn't want to cut through the thin top part that bolts onto it. So to reset the E's closer to the edge, I did that first, and then I put a gauge on there to establish centers on the rest of them, and hand cut each one of them in, and hand spaced them a little closer together than they were stock, and then cut them for height after the neck is adjusted and the action is adjusted to playable down at the bridge end. I dropped the string height over the frets to about 25 thousandths on the E strings, the big E, to about 17, almost 15 thousandths on the high strings.
And then you spaced out the strings so they go out to the sides of the neck.
Right, I established that first. The width of the strings because the stock nut was way too narrow.
Yeah.
Then the bridge, I had to turn around these four saddles on the B and the E on the high strings, take them out, turn them around, cut the springs in half because they needed to move back. And then I notched those with a special file I made from a triangle file. I ground the edge of it so it has one for big strings and one for fine for notching. These are chrome-plated brass to notch it back for back breakover. And then it was just a matter of getting it intonated. This also has a major adjustment side and side. I centered that, but it turned out working pretty good for intonation.
Yeah, I just played it.
Just took half a day.
Well, I appreciate that.
Needed to be done.
You too can make your $500 guitar into a $1,000 studio guitar for only $1,200. No, I'd add about $150 in parts. Would have been $400 in labor if I wasn't a buddy of Steve's. So
cut it in half,
$200 in labor, $150 in parts. I got the guitar for 20% off, so $400. Spent about $750 to get the guitar studio ready, intonated, and a guitar I'd be proud to play and own and not want to sell. Just wish I could get a cheap case for it. But all the cases are too short because of that crazy head.
Yep.
Anyways, awesome work. Steve Helgeson, Moonstone Guitars. Check him out. So thank you, Steve, for the mods. And here's just a little example to hear. The intonation is really great on this guitar, and I can like play octave chords and they're still in tune. Here's a regular D. Octave D. So I would recommend the AS7312 from Ibanez, with the caveat of you're going to have to mod it to make the intonation great, because it's not great coming stock. But put a little bit into it, plan on that when you buy it, and you're going to have a really great sounding guitar.